They will not remember how quiet you were. They will remember how you stood when everything shook. Not when the path was clear, but when the storm arrived. Not when it was easy to speak, but when it took everything not to stay silent. Winston Churchill was not born for comfort. He was forged for conflict. A man who stared into the face of annihilation and did not blink. While others hesitated, while the world doubted, he chose conviction over consensus. This is not a history lesson. This is a call to rise. Because today, the world doesn't need more followers. It needs a few brave souls willing to lead, like Churchill. What does that mean? It means leading when the odds are not in your favor. It means speaking when silence is safer. It means believing, not because the path is proven, but because your soul demands it. Leadership is not about the title, the applause, or the luxury. It is the burden of vision, the duty of fire, to see what others cannot, and to walk toward it alone if you must. Churchill did not wait for permission. He commanded the moment, and you, if you are to lead, must do the same. The first rule is this, and if your words cannot, 1, speak with conviction, even when your voice trembles. You will be called foolish before you are called wise. You will be doubted before you are followed. And if your words are to matter, they must first come from a place that cannot be moved. Churchill spoke to a nation that had already started to give up. He did not echo their fear. He declared their strength. He said, "We shall never surrender." Not because it was popular, but because surrender was not in his nature. His voice shook the soul of a country. And not because he had the loudest words, but because he had the clearest purpose. You are not here to whisper what is safe. You are here to speak what is necessary. Do not let the fear of judgment steal the truth from your tongue. Speak with fire, even if your hands shake. Because one word spoken with conviction can awaken an entire generation that forgot how to feel. And once you've spoken, the world will watch. They will ask, "Do you mean it?" And the second rule will be tested. 2, stand alone if you must. But Churchill stood against appeasement, against delay, against cowardice disguised as diplomacy. He stood when Parliament doubted him, when allies deserted him, when the newspapers mocked him. But he did not bend, because he knew it is better to stand alone in truth than to kneel in comfort beside the timid. Every leader will one day find themselves at a crossroads. One path, crowded, approved, applauded. The other, silent, uncertain, cold. The leader chooses the second. Not because it's heroic, but because it is right. This is the moment you define yourself. Not when you win, but when you refuse to fold. And the world? It may laugh at first. It may label you delusional, arrogant, reckless. Let them. Because once the dust settles, the ones who stood will still be standing. Not because they were lucky, but because they refused to sit down. To strength? But strength is not just about standing. It's about what you stand for. And that's where the third rule is forged. 3, define the mission. Then let nothing distract you. Churchill didn't just talk of victory. He defined it. He named it. He obsessed over it. He made it real before it ever arrived. Victory at all costs, he said, not as a slogan, but as a standard. He didn't entertain maybes. He didn't drift in the winds of opinion. He forged his mission in steel and then burned the ships behind him. If you are to lead like Churchill, you must define your mission so clearly that doubt becomes irrelevant. When the goal is crystal, the noise loses its power. You are not here to do everything. You are here to do what matters most. And the world will try to distract you with applause, with comfort, with easier paths. But a true leader knows every yes to distraction is a no to destiny. Churchill was not interested in being liked. He was interested in being effective. And that meant sacrifice. It meant refusing to be all things to all people. It meant saying no, fiercely, repeatedly, to anything that did not serve the mission. Your vision must be so powerful it scares you a little, so clear it burns in your chest, so real it makes you restless at night. Do not chase 100 shallow victories. Pursue one deep purpose and do not stop. Because when a leader's mind is fixed on a single flame, they become unstoppable. But clarity is not enough, because once the vision is set, the war begins. And this is where discipline takes over. 4. Wage war with discipline. Churchill did not rise by luck. He rose by grit, early mornings, endless briefings, relentless preparation. While the bombs fell, he studied maps. While others slept, he plotted counterattacks. He understood a brutal truth. You cannot negotiate with chaos. You conquer it through discipline. Leadership is not just the fire in your heart, it's the structure in your spine. It's waking up when no one's watching. It's choosing discomfort over delay. It's showing up again and again because you promised yourself you would. You want to lead? Then you must build routines that make greatness inevitable. Habits that keep your soul sharp, your mind ready, your will like iron. Churchill drank, yes. He joked, yes. But make no mistake, when the time came, he was ready, because he never stopped preparing. The disciplined man is the dangerous man. He does not flinch when pressure comes, because he has already trained for the moment. Every single day is a rehearsal for history. Every repetition, every decision, every refusal to quit, it all stacks. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It frees you from chaos, it frees you from regret, and it proves one thing above all: you are worthy of the vision you speak. But discipline alone is not enough, because even the most focused soul will fall if they do not learn how to rise, and that is where Churchill's final, most brutal lesson lives. 5. Get up. Again, and again, and again. Churchill failed, more times than most men even try. Gallipoli, voted out of office, laughed out of parliament, exiled from power in the very country he would later save. And yet, he never let failure define his final word. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. That's not a quote. That's a commandment, carved into the heart of every leader who ever mattered. He was told he was too old, too rash, too out of step with the times. And yet, when darkness fell over Europe, the world turned to the one man who refused to stay buried. Because true leadership is not about being perfect, it's about being relentless. The kind of relentless that gets back up when your name has been dragged through the mud, when your legacy looks broken, when your voice is hoarse from shouting into a world that won't listen. Get up anyway, because this is where history is written, not in the victory speech, but in the quiet, painful, unseen decision to rise again. Churchill's greatness was not in his eloquence, it was in his endurance. He outlasted the storms, he outweighted the doubt, he outwalked the fear. And so can you. You think it's over? Then rise. You think you've failed? Then rise. You think no one sees the fight inside you? Then rise. Not for them, but for you. Because if you rise enough times, you become a storm no enemy can outlast. And that is how leaders are born. And so we return to where we began, to fire, to burden, to the code not written in books but in blood, in steel, in the bones of those who chose purpose over peace. To lead like Churchill is not to imitate him. It is to invoke the part of you that already knows, that already remembers what it means to be forged, not found, to be shaped in the shadow and revealed in the light. The world today is not so different from his, full of noise, full of comfort masquerading as peace, full of leaders too careful to speak, too cautious to stand, too fragile to rise when the pressure hits. But not you, because if you've listened this far, you already hear the call. You are not here for applause. You are here to awaken something deeper, and now you know the code. You don't need code. Speak, even when your voice shakes. Stand, even when you stand alone. Focus, when the world tries to distract you. Discipline, like your future depends on it. Rise again and again and again. You don't need permission. You don't need a title. You only need the will to move forward through the smoke, through the silence, through the setbacks. Because leadership is not given. It is earned in the hours no one sees. It is earned in how you carry yourself when everything is falling apart. It is earned in how you treat your mission like it is life itself. Churchill didn't wait for the perfect time. He became the moment. He turned his scars into speeches, his setbacks into sermons, his silence into steel. Now it's your turn to carry the code, to lead with fire, to walk into chaos and bring order. To become the kind of leader the world no longer believes exists, but still desperately needs. Because the truth is, history does not remember the convenient. It remembers the courageous. And if you are brave enough to lead like Churchill, the world will never forget you.